When did you first meet Kasia?
It must have been 72, I guess.
Okay.
When I had established with Kasia's teacher and mentor, Jacek Fiszak, a close collaboration of my department with his department.
I met her in person for the first time at New Sounds 2010, the conference that she chaired and revived again in Poznan back then.
I remember that day pretty well because this was the practical English exam. And she struck me as a quintessence of elegance and class, and I got truly intrigued by her. So I always wanted to get to know her in another capacity, which luckily happened when I became a faculty member. When I started working under Kasia's supervision, she was, for many years, as we all know, director of the back then Institute of English and then School of English, Faculty of English, and I was deputy head for didactics, and it was between 2005 and 2008. So obviously we collaborated in an administrative capacity and spent many hours working together. So that's when I truly got to know her and appreciate her, not just as a colleague, but as a person, as a friend, as a human being.
And as a leader, right?
And as a leader, yes.
Well, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was when I was a very young postdoc, and I did my postdoc at Bielefeld University with David Gibbon, and he had initiated this Erasmus exchange with AMU, and Kasia came over. So it must have been in around 2000, so I've probably known her for more than 20 years now. Well, the very first time I met her, I was, of course, greatly in awe of her because she's so energetic and so lively. So I was quite intimidated, but then it turned out that she's a really, really nice person.
So probably the first time was at one of the conferences that the English Institute organized at that time, led by Jacek Fiszak.
I came into the lecture hall, and here comes this woman, tall, with a very sprightly step, huge blonde hair, a T-shirt saying, I think, Hard Rock Cafe Honolulu. I was completely inspired and in love with her already from the very first lecture.
I first met her when I was a first-year student of English studies at Adam Mickiewicz University. Kasia had a fabulous lecture on phonology and phonetics of English.
Well, she's not old enough for me to have known her a long time, because I came to Poznan in 1972 when she was either still in grade school or high school. So I didn't have a chance to meet her during my first 3 years in Poland, which was 72 to 74. So I met her when she was a student on various trips to Poland after that. We've been especially good friends ever since then, both in the social and academic world, I think.
I think it was in 1985, roughly, at a phonology meeting in Krems, Austria, where she attended and I attended. This is in 38 years exactly.
Actually, it was quite a long time ago, maybe even earlier than I would like to admit. So that was in October 1990. So I was a first-year student, freshly after secondary school. Kasia actually taught first-year descriptive grammar classes. So we've known each other for nearly 33 years.
I met Kasia at my very first conference. Actually, it was a workshop in Vienna. Kasia was a keynote speaker at the time, and I was impressed by her lecture. It must have been 1996, if I remember correctly.
It seems to be the PLM in 1998, and so that would mean 25 years. That's my best guess since when I met her first.
I met Kasia, I think it was 2001. I met Kasia in Honolulu when she came as a Fulbright scholar to the University of Hawaii, to the Linguistics department. And at that time, I was a student with Patricia Donegan and David Stamp. So I was at the right place at the right time, you could say. So I had a really wonderful time with these three people, Patricia and David and Kasia working together. It was kind of a unique synergy of natural phonologists.
Have you worked with Kasia?
We work in very different fields. So we haven't had any direct cooperation within linguistics. But since both of us have been occupied with university politics and administration, then we have cooperated on that level instead, and that has been very close and very fruitful. I think the cooperation we have had there. Of course, she succeeded Jacek Wysiak as first director of the English Institute, and then was instrumental in reforming or transforming the institute into the English faculty, and of course now she's the vice rector.
I introduced her to natural phonology because I was just back 2 years from Ohio State University, where I had, of course, a lot of discussions with David Stamp. And she was interested, and so we started to collaborate and to publish. So also introducing already some novelties that I've done. For example, a new epistemology on functionalism in linguistics, and we both applied it. It must have been our first joint article of many to follow. Then a bit later, I introduced her also to natural morphology. She was also quite interested, and we published several articles on it. But then, of course, came the time of her own linguistic initiatives in proposing net auditory distance. And I was impressed from the beginning, thought that this was a big advance, and so I used it also, and we used it together. We founded a new subdiscipline, namely morphonotactics in a naturalist way. Poznan and Vienna became hotspots of natural linguistics, and that's what they still are.
My collaboration with Kasia was multi-leveled. She has played a leading role at the biennial International Symposium on Monolingual and Bilingual Speech that has been taking place in Greece, with just a single exception last time when it took place at the University of Louisiana, Lafayette. Kasia has contributed in books that I have been editing on cross-linguistic phonological advancements, and I'm grateful to her for her contributions.
Kasia gave me freedom as to what I wanted to explore when I was a PhD student and a postdoc, be it clinical linguistics and later on neurolinguistics. We still collaborate. Our cooperation, our working together never ended.
Our academic collaboration has been quite intense because we, of course, have been socialized in the framework of natural phonology, and we are working on very similar issues. And we have, I have attended workshops organized by her. She has attended workshops organized by me. She has published in journals edited by me, and so on and so forth. We have actually also collaborated on a specific project where some of Kasia's PhDs and postdocs contributed to it, and so there are all sorts of things that have happened.
We have actually never worked together scientifically, but I have a lot of respect for what Kasia does, for what Kasia is doing. I think that her initial choice of natural phonology was very accurate. It's my personal opinion. And I also think that for this reason, Kasia never flew off into the clouds of total abstraction.
She is very active in editing volumes and doing editorial work and getting people to publish. And so there are a few edited volumes edited by her in 2001, for example, where I put a paper in. So we work together. If you want to, me as an author and she in her capacity as an editor.
Can you also tell us about the ways in which the field of linguistics has changed during the period when you collaborated?
I think the biggest change has been with regard to a larger awareness, with regard to the importance of cross-linguistic differences in the speech of people as a result of globalization and as a result of multilingualism being more of a norm, or at least being perceived as being more of a norm these days, although, it's been an age-long tradition around the world. Kasia has been extremely influential in the understanding of the relationship between morphology and phonology. And she has contributed a lot to our understanding of cluster acquisition as part of this more general framework.
One of the aspects of our collaboration was obviously at the time when Jennifer Jenkins' proposal came on the linguistic scene with a bang. So, as you know, we all kind of responded to it. So that was one of the projects. And I guess, that also, to a large extent, reflects the way in which things have changed, because I guess back in the 1990s, the fact that you would have to kind of defend native speaker standards, as teaching standards was would have been quite outlandish, right? Still, so now definitely, it's definitely part of the, we can call it mainstream linguistics. There's obviously more emphasis on multilingualism.
I think linguistics maybe has sort of taken an even greater empirical turn. And she's, of course, at the forefront of that. I mean, she's very, very strong in developing models, but they are always based on empirical data. And I think so she was one of those people driving this empirical in the area of second language acquisition, driving this idea of having models that are really solidly based on empirical research.
I'll tell you, though, what I admire about her work, most specifically, especially as a sociolinguist, is that, of course, the whole business of natural phonology and then the beats and binding phonology, which she developed more specifically out of that, more directly, I suppose, from Dressler's work than from David Stamp's, is that it reflects a probabilistic view of processes and rules rather than a deterministic or categorical view. And of course, for a sociolinguist, nothing can make you smile more than to hear someone talk about probabilities rather than categoricity. It's certainly part of a very large trend, strong in the United States, but also, I think, gaining strength, at least in some parts of Europe, of exactly that kind of probabilistic functionalist views, because if beats and binding and natural phonology has any characteristic about it, it certainly is that it's natural, which either entails or implies, maybe entails is too strong a word, of a functionalism. So, but she certainly contributed to that growing trend in a functionalist and cognitive views of language structure in general.
How linguistics has changed. It has changed a lot. I think that natural linguistics can have here a great future.
Testament to that, to her strength and leadership qualities and the quality of her scholarship. That in that environment, 80s and the 90s, we were on the map and we were taking part in that conversation, trying to challenge the existing the existing paradigm. And in the end, you know, we were successful, I think.
My research with Kasia has always been interdisciplinary, which is no surprise to anyone nowadays. However, 20 plus years ago, for linguistics to collaborate with other fields was extremely rare. Kasia was at the very forefront of seeing the importance of linguistics to cooperate with other fields of science. And for that, a huge shout out to Kasia.
You know, for me, Kasia is a very inspiring person in many ways. But one thing that I really admire about her most is her ability to stay on top of the newest developments in the field, and not only in the field of phonology and linguistics, but generally in the field of cognitive science. So she has this quite enormous capacity to synthesize and bring together insights from all over the place, from all sorts of fields, right? Be it anthropology, evolutionary linguistics, bilingualism, complexity theory, computational modeling. All these things have been under her influence, discussed at BLM meetings, for example, right? And so for me, she's this true interdisciplinarian. And I think that's where fields like linguistics are going. They are connecting with other fields in cognitive science more and more.
So my impression is that topics or different research areas that were very abstract, of course, theoretically embedded, have become more experimentally oriented. And I have a feeling that Kasia is seeing it and wholeheartedly supports experimental work, be it phonetically oriented or psychologically or computationally. It's important for her to support experimental work. This is my impression. And I also think she's not scared about artificial intelligence at all.
I think we have both witnessed that digitization, particularly, has changed our field and has challenged us to acquaint ourselves with quantitative methods that at the time when we started to work in phonology or in linguistics generally were not part of the tool inventory the linguists had to come out, right? And both in our ways, we have actually, I think, both seen that this has become necessary and tried to basically attract young talent with quantitative research skills into our research teams, and generally actually have tried to adapt to what is now the state of the art in our discipline.
Is there are there any special memorable events connected with Kasia on a more personal level that you would like to share with us?
Yeah. Okay, so let me come back how we started to become close friends. So when I was discussing with her, we were so intense in discussion that I didn't observe that traffic signs in Poland are much lower than in Vienna. And thus I ran into a traffic sign with my forehead and upper nose, and there was a stream of blood coming out. It looked very impressive, more impressive than it really was, but still. So Kasia was the one who first brought me to a hospital, the main hospital. But there came the really serious cases, and we would have waited for 2 hours for our turn.
I think what really, what I will never forget, I guess, was precisely the time of collaboration in the administrative capacity I remember the long summers that the two of us spent locked in Kasia's office and preparing the class schedule for every academic year. And for those colleagues who are too young to remember, there we have to bear in mind that back then we didn't have a computer software, we didn't have a magic algorithm to calculate the class schedule and prepare it. So we basically did it together. We were sitting there surrounded or flooded rather by tons of A4 sheets of paper. Each sheet of paper included information about the faculty member, their name, their teaching load, their preferred time slots. And so we had to manually enter and calculate the correct class distribution. And obviously, you know, it would probably be an understatement to say that it was quite a logistical nightmare and a very difficult process. And oftentimes when we were halfway through, almost completed our work, an unexpected problem would occur. A faculty not being able to teach, something would always come up. So obviously, like a domino effect, this would pretty much shatter weeks worth of work, bringing us back to square one. And I remember that at moments like that, I was pretty anxious and frustrated, depressed to say the least. And I was very happy that Kasia was there because she would invariably keep up the optimism. She would always have that positive attitude that we're going to get the job done, that we're going to find a solution one way or another. So I have that memory of those really painful days where, you know, even in the midst of the most chaotic chaos, the most unbearable challenges, everything was falling apart. But Kasia always had that, well, we'll get that job done attitude. And then she would always somehow, amazingly and invariably, solve the problem. And actually, I kind of, throughout that experience, it occurred to me that if things tended to go too smooth and too well, Kasia did not really enjoy herself. You know, it was only after there was this phone call that was spelling bad news, I was cringing, I was ready to give up, and Kasia would get that spark in her eyes and that extra wind in her sails to face yet another challenge and to conquer the problem.
She is an extremely gregarious person. If you want to go to a party and have a good time, then you will not find her sitting in a corner. And it's not just that she is out there like a social butterfly. She is out there like a person who simply enjoys interacting with other people. And I think she has done this at every level. And it's reflected in her relationship to younger colleagues and to students, who she always seems to have time for, in spite of what has become, as she has advanced with administrative responsibilities, something all of us try to avoid, but she's very good at that as well. Mm-hmm. So she's not just a friendly person, but also a scholarly friendly person. And I've seen her interacting with such students and younger scholars and very, very generous with her time.
We've met each other regularly and frequently. And, you know, and I could say many things about academic things, but I think what's an interest that we share, apart from academia, is our interest in Quentin Tarantino movies, and I still remember fondly. I think that once we went to see Jackie Brown in Vienna, and then we had a dinner afterwards, and we went to a very nice place to chat. And when this is, you know, this just goes to show that our shared interests go beyond consonant clusters and natural phonology.
As a member of the Academy, she is entitled to visit our research center in Lesbos, Greece. And she did so once. And I think that when the period she was there for a week or two weeks perhaps, that's the only time when we had a leakage through the roof I mean, it almost never rains there, but of course it rained when she was there, and then there was a leakage through the roof. And I was very unhappy when I heard that, of course, that she had experienced that. But I think she was very happy with the whole thing, with the whole stay that she had that with Agnieszka Kikiewicz Janowiak. So they stayed there, both of them.
Kasia is obviously a very memorable person. I don't think anyone can deny that. And well, for me, I mean, she's been very memorable and very special since day one, in the sense that we were all, and well, if I can speak for my fellow students, we were all absolutely impressed with her, both in terms of her extensive knowledge of the subject, and well, how brilliant she was as a teacher, because her classes were absolutely riveting, which was not to be taken for granted because this was a very different type of class. But the way she was as a person, as a woman, for me, it was an absolute height of glamour. When she walked down the corridor, you knew that she had walked down the corridor even with your eyes closed, because there was this wonderful smell of her perfume. And then she got into this wonderful red BMW. I remember one time, it must have been about 25 years ago, I think it must have been one of those pretty informal meetings, like fun meetings. And at some point, Kasia was talking about, another famous linguist, Polish linguist, another professor from another university. And she said that she was really impressed with how he inspired his co-workers, in the sense that whatever he got interested in, then his co-workers followed suit. So there was a whole kind of like a school, of thought that surrounded him. And I think she said something to the effect that, wouldn't it be wonderful if the same thing happened here in Poznan? To which Professor Sobkowiak said, yeah, why don't you do it here? And this will become a natural place. And I guess, well, from what I can tell, to a large extent, she has succeeded, because I guess the Department of Contemporary English language, has become a natural place, and I think it's great.
The message would be for Kasia to go on like she did, with that maybe planning more relaxed, because she's even more overworked than I ever was.
I would like to wish Kasia that the linguistics forest that she has created in Poznan, but also beyond Poznan, elsewhere, so that it might continue to grow with her by its side, in great health and happiness for many, many, many more years to come. And that's with a lot of love, Kasia, from Elena.
I would like to thank Kasia. Thank you, Kasia. This is being recorded, so I'm looking at you in the audience. I want to thank you for being such a wonderful human being, such a wonderful friend, for always inspiring us, your colleagues and your mentees, to always reach higher, to never give up, to do better, for always seeing that silver lining, for being so beautifully supportive, also on a personal note. And I just want to wish you the next 40 years of success. And I want to toast to it with a cup that Kasia will recognize. It's a gift for her. So here's to 40 years and 40,000 reasons why we're so grateful for you.
Our work together has been awesome. Who knew 30 years ago that when we met, we would make such amazing strides toward so many different areas in human computer speech recognition. It's just been an amazing journey, and you've been my idol forever. And I am so impressed with all the things you've done in Poznan, and everyone loves you.
I would like to thank Kasia for her enthusiasm, also for her scientific curiosity, also for her openness to new scientific paths, as I mentioned before, also experimental paths. I think she's very curious about various disciplines, and she's looking far beyond the horizons, full of ideas, ready to take on challenges. And from my perspective, also, this is my suspicion, her thinking is twofold, because she thinks, looking at others, what is interesting, but in the back of her mind, a kind of light immediately goes on. What would be interesting for my institute? What would be interesting for my university? And I don't think anyone doubts that the largest number of young, talented linguists is educated in Poznan, is produced in Poznan, if I may use this term. And I'm sure it's to Kasia's credit as well. Of course, not underestimating students' talents. And I think Katarzyna has been doing wonderful work for Polish and world's linguistics for 40 years now. Thank you, Kasia, for your enthusiasm and your effort you put to provide phonology and linguistics to such a high level. And I wish you to continue on this path in the future. All the best.
Dear Kasia, for the 40th anniversary of your teaching and scholarly work, I wish that you continue to inspire students and change their lives for as long as possible, just like you have changed mine. And I also wish you more trips to your favorite spots in the world, where we will hopefully meet again and again.
Dear Kasia, I wish you all the very best, because this is what you deserve. I'm thankful to you as my former mentor. I look up to you as a researcher and a leader in the field. And I love you as a friend.
My personal message to Kasia is that, of course, I'm full of admiration for the many things she has done in her life. I mean, she has not only been an active scholar, but she has also basically engaged herself with immense stamina in the management of science and linguistics. Right? For that, I admire her. I don't know where she takes the energy from. And I just wish her basically all the best for the future, and that she may keep her stamina. I'm actually pretty sure that she will. And, you know, maybe at one time she will not be deputy rector anymore, and there will be even more time for pursuing the research interests we share. And of course, all the best.
Thank you so much for being such an inspiration, because I can very safely say that my life would have been very different if I hadn't met you. So thank you so much for showing the way, for being in many ways the trailblazer. And thank you so much for your support. And I wish you absolutely all the best.
Congratulations, Kasia, on a distinguished 40-year academic career. I wish you all the best for the future, and I hope that you stay healthy and full of energy, and that you continue enjoying your career and your personal life.
Congratulations on 40 years of academic service. That is a great achievement, and so congratulations for that.
What I would really like to wish her, what I would like to wish us, all of us, is that she stays with it for many, many years, so that we can all benefit from what Kasia Dziubalska-Kołaczyk is doing in linguistics.
It's very clear that if you've ever lived anywhere in Eastern Europe, then you know where to do linguistics. You just make a beeline for Poznan. Now, I admit it was established before Kasia took it over. And no doubt, wherever he is, Fishak is looking down, up, or sideways at her and saying something like, "You've got it, girl."
na dziedzińcu, także w tym korytarzu są tak zwane sale C, tej takiej interakcji, tutaj setki rozmów się tu odbyły. Tak, tutaj w tym małym kawałku, prawda? No bo opa, no i co, a w górze, proszę. We have full alarms. Wow, I mean, as they should have been, no.